The Unemployment Insurance Fund, or UIF, is not something that many of us paid attention to. This, as employees, would be satisfied with a deduction from our wages, knowing that one day those deductions would come in handy should we find ourselves in the unemployment line. For many, that happened back when COVID-19 struck. Millions of people who had lost their jobs found themselves queuing for their UIF to get by, but many found themselves unable to access their funds for various reasons. Sindiswa Mbonambi, who's a UIF practitioner and knowledge specialist on UIF, joins us in studio this evening to speak about the application procedures, the benefits, the current changes, improvements that are being made, but also some advice to employers as well as employees when it comes to the UIF. A very good evening to you, Sindiswa, and thank you for joining us in studio. Tell us why it was so important for you to focus on the Unemployment Insurance Fund and gain the kind of knowledge that you are now sharing with other people that are now in need of it.
Okay, as I was going through Facebook, minding my own business, I realized that a number of people are being misled, or they are given inaccurate information or inadequate information in terms of if you are employed, there's money lying around and you can get it whenever it suits you. And then I started doing a research. I dig deep. I ask questions so that I can educate and guide people on the questions to ask, what it is that they should be looking for, especially those are currently employed, so that when they get to the stage where they find themselves unemployed, they know exactly what it is that they need to do.
Yeah, but what should they be looking for even before they get to the unemployment stage?
Okay, if you are working currently, I'm going to encourage you to register on U-Filing. This is where you are going to find out if your employer has registered you for UIF or not. Now, after you have registered, we do have a video on our social media platforms where it's going to take you step by step in terms of how to register for UIF. This is when you are still employed, right? And then you are going to go to a tab called Employment. Once you get to that tab, you're going to another tab that calls Get Declarations. Once you don't see your name there, it's time you look into your employer and find out why your name is not there, because this is where you will find out whether you were registered or not. There are some employers that will deduct the money and pay it via SARS or payroll system. UIF is not aware of that unless you let them know that I, Sindiswa, I have 7 employees, I have registered them for UIF and this is their deduction. Therefore, UIF will be in a position to distribute the money accordingly as soon as your employees start to claim for UIF.
Yeah. Are you finding that there are businesses that have not been paying UIF and someone will find themselves unemployed, get to the office and then they are not on the registration system? I mean, how does that happen and what does a person do in that situation?
Okay, some of the employers don't know how to declare their employees on UIF. This is where we come in to assist in terms of UIF administration as well as declarations. If you find yourself, your name is not there and you've been working for years, because UIF pays for about 4 years period, then you need to go to people, they are called inspectors. As soon as you submit your application, you inform your inspector that, look, on my pay slip, I saw that UIF was being deducted, but this employer was not or has not registered me for UIF. The inspectors will then investigate. And for the employers who are not complying with UIF, they have a hefty fee to pay. They can pay up to 30% of their revenues if they don't comply.
Okay.
So the inspectors will make sure that those employers do comply with UIF.
Yeah. Interestingly, you have someone who's maybe worked for a company for 40 years and the company has paid the UIF over the 40 years, then they retire. And you get to the UIF office and the UIF will tell you, we don't pay you for the full 40 years that you worked for this company.
Yes.
We only pay you a maximum of 10 years.
4
or whatever it is. Thank you. Why is that, and why is that not made clear from the get-go when you're contributing for the 40 years that you've been employed?
UIF is an insurance company. I think what makes people confused is that it is run by the government. It's the insurance that says we will only meet you halfway. It's not the money to take care of you for the rest of your life. It's the money to say while you have lost or you are going through dark periods, we will meet you halfway until you are back on your feet. And that money is not the money that I can pay your bills, your car, your rent, your school fees. No, it's just to take care of you while you are still looking for another another source of income. So that is why they're only paying for 4-year period.
Yeah. What are some of the challenges that you are still encountering with people that you are giving the advice or the knowledge to when it comes to UIF? Are there issues with the digital system and the queuing at the offices? What are those big challenges and bottlenecks that you're still working through?
Their forms not filled incorrectly, declarations, employers again, and the termination reason. UIF has some reasons that they don't pay for if you decide to abscond and I'm not going to work, and then you initiate the termination. They will investigate, the inspectors. Or you resign and you say, you know, there's money in UIF, I've been paying for so many years, and then I'm going to sit home and get the money. Remember, it's for rainy days. Okay, so if your form is not filled incorrectly, if your declarations are not submitted on time, there are people who are partially declared. 1 month it's green, they were declared, another month it's red, they are not declared, or others they are not being declared at all. And then on UI-19, there's a portion where a authorized person has to complete is 1.11, where an authorized person has to complete. See, I spoke about the employer, now I'm talking about the authorized person. And you have to make sure that you have been contributing to UIF as well. So those things are the ones that are causing delay. Sometimes you get married, today you are Mrs. Mbonambi, you are Miss Mbonambi, for instance. And then by the time you apply for UIF, you are now married, but in you at Home Affairs, we still have you as Miss. You haven't updated.
So small details like that.
Small details. It's not things that you can erase with T-Pex. The little things that you guys overlook, these are the things that UIF takes into consideration.
Yes.
So if those things are not matching, remember the bank file, the UIF, and the Home Affairs are interlinked. So anything that happens within those 3 platforms, it has to speak the same language. If it doesn't, your application will be parked. If you are not declared, your application will be parked. If UI-19 is not completed correctly, it will be parked. If your termination reason doesn't match what is on the UI-19, it will be parked. It's a number of things, and once they park it, it goes back to the system on the queue, and other applications that are perfect are moving forward. So assessors don't have time to check, and others are submitting their documents one by one. Now, when the assessor goes into your file, it's your ID. 17 applications is your UI-19. 17 applications is your UI something else, UI 2.3, UI 2.7. You submit them one by one. Submit all your documentation once. Make sure you are declared. The name of the company doesn't match. Now we are dealing with eNCA Pty Ltd on UIF records. On your UI-19 is Prime 24. Now it's 2 companies that are not the same. UIF will park it again. And that is why there's something, again, they call a bank verification. Once you get to the stage where your application has been approved and they have to pay, the paymaster has to pay. This is what drives a lot of applicants crazy. They have to do a verification. You had about a couple of months without working. The bank has to do a verification because there's money coming into account. Where is it coming from?
Is it a lump sum? So do you get the money as a lump sum, the whole 4 years?
It depends, because they do the back pay, depending on when, but they pay you according to monthly. Remember, when you contribute, you also contribute monthly. Yes. The only one that they pay a lump sum is a death benefit. But others, it depends. They use their own discretion to say, okay, this one we can pay once off, this one we can split it, this one we can do blah, blah, blah. As soon as they do that, the bank doesn't know that Rafi is going to get money in a certain amount of time, and then they do a verification. UIF also have to do a verification to say, are you the correct beneficiary? Are you applying for this correct benefit? Do you have declared, where you declared by your employer, the company, does it match? The reference number, does it match? If those things don't speak the same language and they don't match, UIF will park it on the site. And then you are going to sit and wait until you are back on the queue again. Any
advice for someone who is finding themselves in the current situation? Obviously, when you're unemployed, there's a lot of things you're thinking about.
Of course.
So what would be the simplest thing as the first point of call to when you are going to apply for that insurance? Because now you've just told us that it's not money that we're going to get to sustain us for the rest of our lives. It's just an insurance for a short period of time. But the first point of call for someone who is in distress and is looking to get that funding.
Register yourself on U-Filing. Once you register there, like I said, you go to employment. From employment, get declarations. You will then see if your employer was complying. Again, I also tell members on my social media that do not mix all these platforms at the same time. They do not update at the same time. There is what we call a USSD. There is what we call a UIF app. There is a U-filing that I'm talking about, and there's a labor center. Don't use all these at the same time to check the progress of your status. USSD and app was meant for the manual applicants so that they avoid going to the center every day. We're talking about people that don't have money here. So the UIF U-filing, it caters all of that at once. And then instead of you going to Maponya or from Dubai or whatever, you can just go at the comfort of your home, just go to the app on your phone and then go to your filing. You will see the progress of your application. You will see if you've submitted a COB, it's a continuation of benefit. You will see how far your application is. If you don't see all those things at the same time, give it 24 hours. The system will update automatically. Right now, they are congested with callers.
Yeah.
They are congested with applicants. It is bound to slow down a bit, but in 24 hours it would have been updated. If not, you can call the toll-free number. It's 0800 030007. It's a free call. You're not going to pay anything.
But you might wait a while.
Not that long, not that long. The agents will tell you exactly what it is that you need to do. So a lot of them are calling every hour. You don't have to call every hour. You don't have to call every day. You need to do a follow-up within 7 to 10 working days.
Yeah. No, I mean, very informative conversation, and I'm hoping that you've been able to change the lives of many in some way as they learn about the contributions that they make and how it actually works when it's time for them to benefit from those contributions. Thank you very much. That is a UIF practitioner, Sindiswa Mbonambi, joining us to speak about a really important development around UIF and really just the necessity that it's gained over the last 3 years or so with the pandemic and people not really knowing how to approach that particular office.